This is our content, sponsored by Geographics Media.
Peace, Jay. What's going on with you, bruh?
What's going on, Step? How you doing, bro?
I'm doing well, my guy. I was listening to Melodious Catalyst Part 3, and towards the end of that recording, we started delving into the fact that it's a thin line between self-love and self-hate. And so we decided to start this episode with talking about the thin line between self-love and self-hate.
I'm a liar, barely feel remorse. I'm a cheater, letting my nature take its course.
Let's go.
This is the Our Content Podcast. That's that guy with the fresh button down on is Big J the Artist, me. My name is Step, aka Cyncere Wizdumb, the energetic enigma from E-Town. So we were talking about the thin line that lies between self-love and self-hate, because it stemmed from us talking about, some of the music that people start listening to and pretty much letting certain things in the music dictate how they feel about themselves. Jay, when you and I talked earlier, you were talking about how you had a few things that you wanted to say, and I think I do too for some reason. So what what is your take on the thin line between self-love and self-hate?
Well, I would say it like this, man. For me, man, it's when you brought up the subject matter to me, I just thought of people who may be misinformed
Mm,
because they of what real self love is, because they've been living in a perpetual state of self hatred for so long. So their own views and thoughts on what self love is are actually just twisted expressions of self hatred that mask themselves as self love. And I would say, for instance, a person who has been brought up or raised to feel as though to admit that they are wrong about something and to make change about themselves for their overall well being is a bad thing. So they're defending a lot of bad behaviors
mm,
in the name of loving themselves and preserving who they are and standing up for themselves and all that kind of stuff. But it's really just a form of pride and arrogance, and it's ultimately going to hurt you, in the end. But a lot of people I know who have that kind of mentality, who think and act like that, that's something that they saw from people around them in their upbringing, whether it was parents who refused to say that I'm sorry to each other and resolve issues, or a person who's always out there ready to snap on someone, over the smallest little thing, but making it seem like, well, nobody can slight me, nobody can get over on me, nobody can disrespect me, and that's a form of self hate that masquerades itself as self love, because a lot of times it ain't even all that serious. You got to step back sometimes and leave room for the possibility of you being wrong, or at least you having maybe have participated in a situation where you could have handled things in a better way. And that's kind of how I see it. You know what I'm saying? Like, we sometimes we get so caught up in what we think is the right way to do things, or the right way to handle yourself or carry yourself and navigate through the world. But it's really based off of a lot of ignorance from stuff that we saw from people who had it wrong themselves, and they hadn't they hadn't turned the key and opened the door to true self love, which is being humble and being able to look at God and say, Lord, teach me the right way to go, instead of this whole I gotta jump into my my carnal mind, my flesh, my anger, my self preservation, and be more giving, and be more responsive to what someone some good advice that someone might be giving as to how we should carry ourselves.
I agree. The thing that boggles my mind the most is the fact that a lot of times when people are searching for something and they
Mm-hmm.
go to any links or whatever sounds like what they're looking for, they kind of gravitate towards that. It boggles my mind that when someone who possesses some sort of self-love, when they try to help people who possess more self-hate, that person doesn't listen to the self-loving advice. Again, they gravitate towards what they want to hear versus what, in a lot of cases, what they need to hear. So I do agree that a lot of times, a lot of the prowess that people possess as far as trying to be strong or trying to be a boss, quote unquote, or I'm super successful, all of that stuff. A lot of the times, I think, to your point, that a lot of those people really don't like who they are, and many of them don't even like what they've become, but they feel like they have to be that because at some point self-hate morphs into self-defense, not in the physical sense but a mental sense. You said self-preservation to a certain degree, but a lot of times when people don't like who they are, they're super defensive, or in
Mm-hmm.
other cases, they're super offended by whatever is good. I think about how we talked last season a lot about how we find it concerning, or how some people find certain things offensive. And we are now in a state of perpetual lies. A
Mm-hmm.
lot of the stuff that God has spoke to us and told us what how we're supposed to be. In certain cases, when you look at the world, all of that stuff is now deemed judgmental, or is deemed wrong, or even in some cases inappropriate.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people write it off as saying these are social constructs based on XYZ. But
Mm-hmm.
to me, a lot of that propaganda in certain instances is targeting people who may or may not love themselves,
Mm-hmm.
and they gravitate towards it and they stick to it and they live in it, and it becomes their truth. And I think a lot of the times, I spoke with someone today who was just beating themselves to bits
Mm-hmm.
and didn't even know why. And
Yeah.
it's because, like you said, a lot of the times people are misinformed, but they don't try to find the answers through the way that we try to find it, uh,
Mm-hmm.
in positive ways. They start liking certain things, liking certain people, and those people become the spokespersons for their lives. We talk
Mm-hmm.
so much about music, man, and a friend of mine yesterday was talking about how he listened to the episode and thought about how y'all guys were telling the truth. Y'all was on to something. He started talking about gin and juice and how people started taking on those certain personas
Mm-hmm.
because they didn't know their place. And again, trying to be cool, trying to fit in, trying to do certain things, which is it's understandable. It's almost to be expected when you are younger. But the
Yeah.
problem to me nowadays, bruh, is the fact that you have so many adults who are buying into that stuff and buying into certain things and don't know what they want, don't know who they want, don't know where they want to go, where they want to be. And it's okay. It's okay because every few years we are all different people. But you
Mm-hmm.
have to look within yourselves to try to find out what it is that you're supposed to do, or what you like to do, and be courageous in stepping out in the faith and doing and pursuing what it is you feel like you love, instead of
Right.
letting letting the local neighborhood celebrity dictate dictate where you want to go and where you want to be in life.
Move forward into modern time,
Self-love, the
or any
thin
celebrity
line.
for that matter,
What's that?
or any celebrity for that matter,
Correct.
because we don't know their lives. We don't know, like,
Right.
we know what we see on the screen, but we don't know that these people personally. So we don't know what struggles they might have, what demons they might have, what secrets they might have, or what they
Correct.
did to get there, or who they stepped over to get there, or if they stepped over anyone at all. We don't know. We don't know if they did or if they didn't. So that's the thing. It's to me. I would say that the route to go in any form of self love is first and foremost is humility, because
Right.
humility allows you to look at situations for what they truly are, and allow you to accept the bad along with the good, and to seek uh, the state that you're in its totality, so you can better weigh, what direction do I need? Should I start looking to go in, and
Right.
and a real honest depiction of how things are. So you won't be walking around in denial. So you always want to look at things from a stance of humility, and say, okay, well, let me do some self evaluation, because you can't have self love without self evaluation.
Seriously.
You have to have that first and foremost.
And
Uh,
honesty. And honesty. You
yeah,
mentioned it.
yeah,
And you have to be honest with yourself too.
yeah. It's like a car. You won't know how to best take care of a car that's having an issue unless you run a diagnostic on it. And
Right.
you can't hook your car up to a diagnostic machine and then cover up the screen of the diagnostic device and say, well, it says what's going on with it, but I don't want to see it. You know,
or
I'm just gonna get
or
a tire. I'm gonna get some new tires, and that's it.
or the way
You
that
know.
we do when we in our cars and it can be obvious what's going on. We try to turn the music up so we won't hit a knock. And,
Exactly.
and that's what's going on now. It's so many distractions in the world. We turn it up so we won't have to hear or see what's going on a lot of the times within ourselves, until
Hmm.
we get to the point of self-love. And when we get to that point, we start creating our own lanes of happiness, and we start trying to make people around us better, and we start trying to take in their positive energy and the love that they have for the world, and for people in it for the most part. But you said a mouthful when you're talking about humility, and how humility goes hand in hand with honesty. But then on the side of self-hate, you mentioned the word denial.
Hmm.
Denial go because we're gonna lie to ourselves. Man, look at if you look at a lot of things. I think there are a few. I think that self hate and even denial, for that matter, gives birth. It gives birth to so much stuff.
Hmm.
I think that it gives birth to so much stuff. I think that it gives birth to confusion. I think that it gives birth to, again, denial, to self hate. I think it with denial junior.
Really, Step?
See, it, it, it gives birth to different forms of manipulation. I think that people who are extreme narcissists and
Hmm.
manipulators, I think that that is a ultimate form of self-hate.
Hmm.
Self-gratification,
Hmm.
negative self-gratification, to me is a form of self-hate. And to
Hmm.
the listener, you can agree or not agree. Either way it goes, I don't care, how you view it, but just because everybody's entitled to think or feel the way that they want to. But every day um I have to take inventory of myself to find those parts that I don't like about myself, because regardless of how strong we are, how positive we are, we do have those days. If you go back a few episodes ago when I was speaking about being spiritually wounded, when you going through that, that's a form of self-hate to a certain degree, because you feel like you haven't done something right. You feel like you should be off, better off than where you are. You feel like you've put in so much time, so much energy, so much work, so much prayer. You've done so much stuff, and instead of you being on a marathon in life, it looks like you're on a freaking treadmill, B.
Mm-hmm.
You just working and sweating and toiling, but you're still in the same spot. But looking at that, at least you're getting stronger when you start thinking from the point of self-love. Is you look at it, your mindset is a little different about it. You see
Mm-hmm.
how much you've gotten stronger. You see how much you have accomplished. You see how much you went through what you went through at this point for a reason, to prepare you to be somewhere else. But a lot of those times, we have to get to the point where we're strong enough to block out those distractions. We have to we have to accept the fact that we're driving a car that's knocking, and find a way to get it fixed, and pay attention to the diagnostic, B. Like you said, which was a great example. It's not surprising that you give a car example, being that we have discovered that one of your ultimate forms of self love and self gratification is racing for some reason, but you would never live it down, brother. And so I thought it was dope that we talked about that, man, and you are on it today, and it has me thinking in myself, where have I been in denial? Where have I been in a state of delusion, if you will,
Right.
about certain things and certain people in my life? We have to take an inventory, and a lot of times we have to purge.
Yeah. Yeah. And Persian is a big helper in a lot of issues that we might have, because it helps you discover issues when you start purging yourself from
Mm-hmm.
certain things. Uh, and just I've noticed that um, with this whole like get money kind of thought that seems to be really large now, and it seems to be something that has permeated like just human existence, or in the United States especially. I've noticed that human interaction, I rather say, uh, that it has spawned not only just narcissistic behavior, but psychopath behavior, because what has happened is, by definition, I'll say that, because and it sounds funny and crazy, but all that is a person who is the act of sacrificing long term relationships for short term gain.
Right.
And so I'm seeing a lot of that, where in order to get something right now, whether it's money or fame or whatever, uh, we're sacrificing long term, or the potential of long term relationships. So we're actually we have the scales, and we're valuing short term gain, which is normally something that doesn't last anyway, because it's short term.
Short term.
But
Right.
we've been kind of taught a backwards way recently, where we're putting more value on short term things, because we're living in a microwave society. So things that are fast tend to be short term. Uh, fast fashion tends to be short term. It'll be out of style in a year. Fast food, will only satiate you for a certain amount of time, maybe 30, 45 minutes to an hour, and then you're back hungry again, because it doesn't have any nutrients in it, and it's been cooked and preserved in so many unhealthy chemicals and things that is really fast. So you consume it fast, you get it fast, you buy it fast at the drive-through. You know, you pay your money, you're in and out, and then you eat it, but it's not substantial. So you don't have
Right.
those, you don't have that long-term gain like you would something that's more healthy that makes you feel full and gives you your energy and decreases brain fog and stuff like that. Decrease and increases your chances of survival, your overall well being, your health, your longevity. So I've noticed that uh, things are way more transactional nowadays because we're looking at what can we get from people in the here and now at the expense of having a long term meaningful relationships with people. And what happens is we hop from person to person, relationship to relationship, interaction to interaction so fast that we forget people. You know, we forget things that we have, and then we kind of want to forget people because we realize that we looked at it in such a short term fashion that it wasn't positive. It wasn't something that we worked to make last. We got what we wanted and we moved on. You know, whether it's somebody paying your bills or whether it's, just silly stuff like that. Some getting somebody in the bedroom, uh, using somebody in business in order to climb up the ladder, and that whole like I'm not going to have any friends in business or I'm just looking at people as a way to get paid, and so we have to understand that relationships are way more important than the short term gain, because when you build great relationships, that also goes over, it spills over into your business and your finances and your health and your family and things like that, because long term relationships are what sustains life. So
Correct.
it's like, I'm seeing that there's this campaign to exchange the short term for the long term, and that's a big deal when it comes to self love versus self hate, because self hatred is where you don't value yourself enough to even
Correct.
see yourself in a long
Right.
term relationship. So it manifests itself in those short term, quick microwave relationships and transactional relationships.
Or in other situations, you got a party that sees themselves in a long-term situation, but they're dealing with somebody who doesn't. And that's what I
Mm,
was talking about as far as the manipulator, as far as the narcissist, as far as the person who hates themselves to the point where they'll do whatever they can to grasp whatever. I I'm I call myself a man, but I don't do manly things. So I'm gonna find somebody who pretty much just looking for something to run to and pretty much just be this person. And again, it could be relationship, it could be business, but whoever it is, they're looking for something. I'm going to be what they're looking for to get what I want until I don't get it anymore. Until that person smart, gets smart. And then I'm going to move to the next, because every leech needs a host. Every parasite, I should say, needs a host. On the flip side of it all, the person running from, lily padding around, hopping from person to person in search of something, living these nomadic type relationship styles, you know, searching for traveling, looking for food and water, shelter, clothing, and everything else. And they're never getting it from these people, but they have the hope. They have the hope that they're going to give enough of themselves to make that person pour back into them long term. So
mm,
you asking you asking somebody with 10 miles worth of energy to give you 100 miles worth of energy. So
right.
the other 90 miles, you're just traveling aimlessly, trying to find just anything to hold on to,
Hmm.
because you got two people with two different levels of self-hate. Now the person or persons that have self-love, they start trying to build something. And anything that approaches that situation, in my mind, anything that approaches that situation that's not trying to build, that's not trying to connect and build together, they ghost, bruh. They ride out because they know what the vision is. They know what they're trying to do. And they love themselves enough to love other people enough to not be involved with them to the point of not having to cut them off and do certain things with them. And I'm speaking from myself personally. That's how I roll. That's how I get down, because you can't just you can't mix it up. You can't mix it up with everybody, because you bring those spirits into your life in a way that can destroy you. The people with self-love, a lot of times when you talk to them and they all of a sudden just don't like themselves, a lot of the times they're beating up on themselves from that negative energy, those negative spirits that they've allowed themselves to get involved with in certain cases. And that's why, to me, I was saying that there has to be a responsibility in entertainment, because a lot of it starts there. I think that so many people are walking around in waddling, loathing, and self-hatred. And when you really do the knowledge, and when you really, the smoke clears, it's coming from a whole bunch of places outside of themselves. But they've allowed it to be implanted within. And they walk around confused and mad and trying to figure it out, because in their heart of hearts, they know that they have to be on a marathon to get where they're trying to go. But the stuff that they ingest, the stuff that they take in, the stuff that they see, the stuff that they connect themselves to, it appears that it's happening faster than what it is. And when you really look at those situations, those people they're not doing much better than you, B. And that's what I've noticed. That's what I've seen. And that's why I was saying our past few episodes, I just don't understand that mindset, especially at a certain point in life where your state of mind, your mindset has to be more of a growth mindset. But people nowadays, a lot of people nowadays, I should say, they get fixed. They have this fixed mindset that is not working, but they're afraid to grow. Or they've been talked out of growing by people who don't want to grow.
Right.
Manipulation and narcissism, to me, is at an all-time high, bro.
You're right about that.
It's at an all-time high. Like my girl, like my homegirl, Shadonna used to always say, she used to jokingly say about people, it's all about me. And that was 15 years ago, and now it's the norm with a lot of people. And on the flip side, you got people waiting for someone to tell them what to do.
Oh yeah, that's crazy.
Tell me what to do. And I hate to get on it, but I got to. And I'm not trying to be offensive towards anybody, but women, y'all better be careful about what dude you taking some doggone life advice from. If he if he is getting all of the fruits of your labor, and you just walking around depleted and mentally just destroyed, because you allowing that person to tell you what you should or should not be doing, even though they're doing nothing at all, that's a problem. That is a problem. Like the young lady told me, I don't know. He's trying to get his rap thing going. Does he go to the studio? No. Does he ever write lyrics or do any type of music stuff at all? No. Then help me understand how the rap thing is going to take off. Please help me understand how this is going to take off. It don't get no bigger of a lie than that.
You're going to go to an MC battle and destroy everybody in one night and get a $20 million record deal that night.
Exactly. And we just talked about being delusional a little while ago, man. Come on, B. But that self hate. I hate myself to the point where I got to find somebody who is weaker than me, who is
Mm-hmm.
worse off than me, to make them believe in me, even though I don't believe in myself. I only believe that I have what it takes to
Mm-hmm.
control this situation until that situations get wise enough to love themselves and value themselves. And
Yep.
value is the key word. We have to value who we are. We have to value what we touch. We have to value where we want to be, where we want our families to be, and all of that. But it's an uphill battle a lot of times, man, because
Hey, it's Jason Thomas, aka Big J. I just wanted to say thank you all for supporting our content. We put a lot of love and effort into what we do, and I just want to say thank you all who watch us, who support us. We appreciate you guys. Thank you. Peace.
as I said earlier, I believe that self hate is the new self love. I'm balling. I'm this. I'm that. But you go home at night, and when your high comes down, you faced with the reality that the people that are around you really are not for you.
Can't go home. You can't go home at all because you want to be a boss so bad that you gotta doggone work yourself to death just so you can walk around with this false title of being a boss. But you're not a boss. You have a boss, and working yourself to death to the nub, just so because in your mind nobody can tell you what to do, or nobody can give you advice, or you have to keep up with the Joneses when the Joneses ain't thinking about you. The Joneses have a plan, a setup that you don't even know about. So
Mm-hmm.
that's what that's all about. It's all about appearances and being stubborn and not being able to get along with people or a particular person. And most of the time, the person or people you can't get along with is a person that's honestly the person that you really should be trying to get along
Right.
with, because that's the person that's going to tell you what's up, and they're going to give you sound advice, and they're going to steer you in the right direction. But that's not who you want to hear, because that person it sounds too much like right, and what they're saying hits you in a place that you don't like to hear, because you want people to tell you things that tickle your ears, so to speak, and you don't want to hear some truths, and not all truths are hard truths. Some things are just things that can really help you. If somebody really cares about you, they're not going to tell you everything that you want to hear all the time.
Correct.
They're going to try to steer you in the right direction. That's real love right there. And but a person who doesn't really value that tends to surround themselves by people who truly practice hate more than love, because they ain't gonna tell you what you need to hear. Half the time they're trying to get something out of you, so they're quietly, not so quietly, manipulating you by
Right.
agreeing with all your stuff and then trying to get something from you in the process. So I tell people, you got to stay off that dope, man. That dope got folks walking around acting crazy. Gotta get off that hard P, dope.
Looking at me ready to jack because that crack got your back broke. But
Dope and
but
narcissism and dope.
but but you said a key word: narcissism and dopamine. That dope
Yeah.
people, everything that people into, bro. They it's that fast rush. It's that fast rush and that fast
Mhm.
rush and whatever fuels the your delusion, whatever fuels your state of mind, whatever fuels your hate, your self hate, whatever fuels your depression, whatever fuels wherever you are, because it's so much easier to stay down than it is to get up. It's so
Mhm.
much, and again, I'm going back to music. That's why you find these girls and guys too who go through
Mhm.
these, go through these breakups, and they listening to all of these songs or watching all of these shows that fuse that anger. And then the situation that comes along when they find this other person full of self-hate and he sees they're weak, he gets in on them. I told a young lady before that I told her she had a dead spirit. She did. She had this blank look in her eyes. It's just a dead spirit. And she's asked, she's like, Stell, why all these? I just seem to attract vultures. Yeah, because you have a dead spirit. Vultures don't hang out around anything with life.
That's
You
true.
you don't have life in you. Your eyes don't even look bright and lively. You're beaten down. But let's stop looking at, Joe Blow beat me down, Big J beat me down, that boy's Cyncere Wizdumb beat me down. See it for what it is.
Mm-hmm.
And stop making excuses for the people who beat you down and say, hey, I didn't value myself. I hated myself, but now I love myself to the point where you can't even breathe the same air as me because you're doing the same stuff and I've grown. And you just have to put yourself in that different mindset and hang out around people that can continue to fuel your love, your positive energy. And the more positive energy you're around, the more that negative energy just kind of goes away. It has to go away because it's going to be overpowered. And I'm just to the point where I walk around and just watch people and just watch society. It's sad to me that I've almost run over 3 or 4 people. I almost hit somebody maybe 4 times a week. And it's not like I drive like you. I'm a calm, cool driver.
You ain't doing that. That kind of good driving if you about to hit people.
People can't put their phones down, bruh. People will literally walk out in front of a car looking at TikTok or something, or you can't put your phone down 10 seconds to cross the street, man. It's just annoying.
But you're supposed to stop.
I have to.
Not if you ran 3 or 4 people over.
I didn't run anybody over. I've come close, but because they just pop out of nowhere, man. They might.
What's a dead close? Hey man, back to that dead spirit, man. I was just thinking about Mumm-Ra, man. He had a guy in his camp called Vulture, man. He was
But you
a
know
straight
something?
dead carcass mummy, and he had a vulture in his camp.
That's a great example. You notice that Mumm-Ra would have to pledge his he would have to pledge himself to dead spirits in order to look good. Once he did that, it was an illusion that he was just this buff, beautiful Adonis. But when reality, when self-love and check him and they show him a reflection of what he has become, then it takes him back to who he really is.
Yep, a dead mummy.
Correct. And that was such a beautiful example because once we hold up the mirror to a lot of people and shed light on who they really are versus who they are portraying themselves, and we're saying, yo, look at yourself. You don't like yourself. This is self-hate. You're living very you're taking unnecessary risk with your life. You're taking unnecessary risk with someone else's life. You're manipulating people to the point where you're hurting them. And that in turn not only hurts them, it hurts everything connected to them. And once they come down and see who they really are and they accept who they are and they start working towards making who they are much better and full of love, what they touch at that point becomes better, and it sows seeds of love, and everything that they touch at that point becomes something prosperous. May not, and I'm not speaking financially, but I'm speaking spiritually. I'm speaking mentally, I'm speaking emotionally. It's so
Mm-hmm.
many emotionally scarred people out there
Mm-hmm.
in life because they're claiming it in a lot of situations because that's what they hear over and over and over and over. And a lot of times people will use it as an excuse or even as a crutch
Mm-hmm.
because I experience it. I see it every day, B. So once you shine the light on and you show that person a reflection of their true selves,
Mm-hmm.
and you get all of the people out of their lives who are manipulating them and who are narcissistic, who are using them, who are talking them up
Mm-hmm.
to get something from them. Once those people are gone, these people they go through, in a lot of cases, they go through situations where they have to come down from that. But once they stay away from that,
Mm-hmm.
then they all right. Shoot, look at New Jack
What,
City. The biggest
yeah.
mistake that they made with the Carter was putting Pookie in the drugstore because he
Mm-hmm.
wasn't there yet. He was doing great. But when you put him back in that element, he now, this is who I am, this is what I like, this is what I do. It's destroying not only me, but in $1 million a week business at this.
It's almost like where when you can be when you're at a step, the next step to recovery, to true recovery, is going to be the hardest one, because right before your step into true recovery, something like that, like the opportunity to be in a situation like that, will arise, and it is the most detrimental thing to your health for you to or just to your progress by going into that situation. So it was really a situation where the people who was trying to help him, they really stifled him, because they should have like never allowed him to do it. He was
Right.
trying to do something good. He was trying to redeem himself, but it was
Correct.
too early. It was too early, and he shouldn't have. That was not the way to redeem yourself. The way to redeem, he could have redeemed himself, was to stay clean, stay away from situations like that, and then be like a counselor or somebody to people who were either like incarcerated or people who were trying to get off the streets, but do it from a position of safety and sobriety. So do it in a controlled environment where none of that stuff was around, where you
I
remove those people from that
right.
type of environment. And then you can basically witness to the person, give them your testimony, and then help them, on their journey. He went right back into the belly of the beast, and he that you never put a junkie, whether it's alcoholism, whether it's sex addiction, whether it's gambling, well, no matter what it is, uh, uh, obesity, junk food. You're trying to get healthy. You never put them back into the belly of their addiction, uh, because unless you've been out of it for a very long time and you've proven yourself, it can't be fresh out. You gotta really, 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 really have worked
I,
and put in some time into to overcome it. And
I
he just
agree.
went too early.
I agree that I do agree with that. I've never thought about it from that side of things. So yeah, Pookie was trying to redeem himself, but he had forces on both sides who on one side you got somebody who is manipulative
Hmm.
and just very narcissistic. On the other side, you got the so-called good side, and everybody on that side of things had some they had their own personal stakes in it as well. So
Yeah,
he was caught up in the middle of two worlds, and
yeah.
he was trying to redeem himself in both of them. So that was a real good you owned it tonight with Mumm-Ra and even with Pookie, bruh. Seriously.
Well, I got one more
Seriously.
thing to say about Mumm-Ra, and that's gonna be the last thing I say about Mumm-Ra. But where Mumm-Ra messed up is when he would see his reflection and he would turn back into Mumm-Ra, the first thing he would do is retreat. He
Retreat.
would go back. He would go back into this solitude situation where he would isolate himself from the world. And where he should have been doing is going towards the reflection, and then he would
Right.
have had some. I'm trying to relate this to like real life. He would have
You
had some real change, but he kept going through the cycle of mummy to Mumm-Ra, mummy to Mumm-Ra, evil plan after evil plan getting foiled. And so because he would always retreat from the mirror and then go back into his domicile, and he would basically become antisocial. He would always shy away from the truth about who he was, and he would build himself up again. I'm gonna come up into another a plan. I got another plan to destroy the bearer of the mirror, the one who shows me my reflection. I want to destroy that person. You see what I'm saying? That's a form of self love versus self hate.
I agree.
He had the self hate was winning because anytime he was presented with that self love, he would retreat and then
He
try
would
to
read.
try to find a way to beat the group or person that was showing him himself. So he
Right.
had a real problem with accountability. And then
Very
you
much
look through
so.
the people he was rolling with. He was rolling with a guy named Sly, who was a slithery lizard, who was the lowest of the low. He couldn't pick himself up if he tried. He had a jackal man, and
Sure did.
jackals ain't nothing but dirty dogs that'll prey on something that's either dead or almost dead. A vulture man that's is even worse than a jackal man. It's just one is on the ground and the other one is in the sky. And then he had a embodiment of a fool in monkeying, who was always laughing and being told what to do. He didn't have a pure thought in his brain, and so he had all these people. He had a monkey who he could manipulate, a slithery snake who ain't nothing but evil himself, and he can't get up because he's always on the ground. A dog and a vulture, a buzzard,
The
a
buzzer.
buzzard.
Word
Look
up.
look look at the crew he rolling with. But that's his crew.
Say
Like
it
like
again.
uh like 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 DMX said in Billy, that's your man.
That's your man. So it goes back to what I said earlier about the people you surround yourself with. And and
Yeah.
and all of those people that you surround yourself with, if they full of self-hate, if they full of manipulation, if they feel full of not being accountable, all of that, they pour all of that into
Mm-hmm.
each other. And when one person get out of it, they'll find somebody else to step in. That's why it's so important. It's so important to surround yourself around positive energy, because we know this. If you around a whole bunch of people with positive energy and you are the negative one, at some point you leaving. You can't take it. You got to
Mm-hmm.
go to, Mumm-Ra couldn't hang out at Cat's Lair. He couldn't, he wouldn't have been able to deal with it.
Oh
You,
no, he would have saw Chitara, man. Chitara was real fine.
what,
She didn't
what,
want no
what,
mummy though.
how did that, why would you, why? I'm editing that out. But,
Yeah, you better not.
oh my God. Oh my God. But,
Oh,
but again,
that was
hanging
good to
out,
say it.
hanging around that crew. But I think that the thing that I've gotten, and I hope that the listener has at this point figured out what we're saying, that Mumm-Ra is the embodiment that we're using now of someone with self-hate. And when you show him who he really is, he has to run from it, because he's trying to
Mm-hmm.
be what people, especially the people around him, expect him to be versus what it is.
Mm-hmm.
And that's it. I don't think we got anything else to say, bro.
I don't know what you sent, Cat Mama, but it's sure
It's sure
working.
working. Got me going crazy. So, to the listener, we thank y'all for rolling with us, for rocking with us, for riding with us, and all of that. You can get at us on X, formerly Twitter, at Our Content Pod. You can get at us on Instagram, Our Content Podcast. You can get at us on Apple Podcasts, with Our Content Podcast, TikTok, at Our Content Podcast. And you can get at us via email at ourcontentpodcast@gmail.com. Big J and I, we appreciate everything or everyone who tunes in to our presentations. We're trying to get better at what we do and produce more stuff. We're both having an off day today. We had a lot of stuff going on, but we had to make it happen. We appreciate y'all so much because y'all keep us going. Anything else, Jay?
Oh man, we just love you guys. Thank you for the support. I can't say that enough. Thank y'all for rocking with us, and hopefully, we entertained you, informed you, and gave you something that you can take with you throughout your week or throughout your life. We there for you. All you got to do is check us out, and we're gonna be there. One love.
That's it. Ladies and gentlemen, as always, keep God first, love each other. And now from this episode, if you look in the mirror and you see the real you, don't flee. Roll into the light and grow from it. We love y'all. See y'all later. Peace.